Hello my friends, family, esteemed colleagues. Just watched a video where experts are discussing the influence of uric acid on our body. And again, when you don't understand something correctly, you tend to go for statistics and then try to make sense out of the statistics. So the idea is, some claim, that uric acid is actually triggering the extra saving of a fuel in a term of fat, which means if you have increased uric acid, more likely you are going to be fat because you are stimulating your adipose tissue or your liver to produce more fat and to store more fat. As an example, was mentioned that, for example, when the season for fruits comes, berries, for example, we start eating berries because of fructose, and we know that fructose breaks down in the liver. It gets converted into fat, and at the same time, my dog, at the same time, the fructose gets converted into fat, it produces uric acid. So both things now increase. And the thought is behind it that increased uric acid is making us hungrier, and we tend to store more fat. So keeping uric acid down would mean suppressing the production and storage of fat. Now, there could be something in it, because we know that the impulse for thirst and hunger is the same. It just depends how our ego selects it. Does it accept it's hungry or thirsty? But impulse is the same. Well, when we have this in mind, then increase of uric acid requires basically the body to eliminate it, because again, I always say robot, our body is a robot that is calibrated, has sensors and switches and programs that it obeys. And there is a certain level of uric acid that is tolerated. If uric acid goes above this, it is going to be eliminated. But for elimination, it needs water. So if uric acid goes above the radar, more water is needed for elimination, so we get thirsty. But because it's the same signal, easily our ego decides, well, it's not thirst, I'm hungry, I want to eat more. And it is proven, and you can make these experiments, I did, and you will see whenever you eat sugar, carbohydrate, fructose alike, you are going to be hungry. This is why people, glucoholics, they love to pick, constantly picking, and they get fat. Now, according to these scientists, they are saying that more uric acid you are producing, the more you are forcing your cells to store fat. Well, this could be easily what is first, chicken or the egg. It is normal that when there is increased level of sugar in the blood, body is, before it starts to eliminate it through urine, it will start to make use of it, and the only way it can use it, if it is already energy saturated, so it already made its energy, and the cells cannot handle more sugar, then the leftover goes into liver, and liver will repackage it. It will turn it into fat and store it for the future use. But at the same time, as it is converting sugars into fat, it produces uric acid as a side effect, collateral effect. Which means that more you eat carbohydrates or fruits, well, carbohydrates, fruits are carbohydrates, but I mean processed carbohydrates or fruits, the more conversion of the sugar you have to make into fat, the more acid you are producing. And this can make you thirstier. But we don't drink water. And because we don't drink water, we cannot eliminate it. So it starts building up. And the body tries to deal with it just to push it away from the main circulation and crystallizes it. And this is what causing gout and what is causing sometimes arthritic problems and stones. Now, many people are connecting this uric acid now as a part of a problem of diabetes, saying, no, uric acid also contributes because, again, increased uric acids you are going to find in diabetics. So if base of your science is collecting data, then normally, yes, diabetics are obese because they are eating way too much carbohydrates and sugars. We should not eat them at all, but body can tolerate certain amount. When you exceed it, worse problems occur. And then you are making more fat that you cannot use because you are running your cells on sugar, and more plasma you need to eliminate the surplus, not only of fat now, or not fat, not only of uric acid, but also of sugar, because there will come limit where your body cannot even convert all this sugar that you absorb, because your absorption has increased. So you start urinating sugar as well. So you will have diuretic effect from this, from uric acid as well. But now, because uric acid is increasing, at the same time, buffer has to be put in place to offset the alkalinity. So the buffer will be drawn from the liver and from your bones. And here comes osteoporosis, because you cannot redeposit calcium, because you cannot alkalize spaces on a bone which should be remineralized. So at the same time, we can say, well, the uric acid is also causing osteoporosis, which is true. But is the uric acid to blame? Or is the initial cause that causes all these problems? And this is sugar. And if sugar is to blame, is it fructose to blame? I have proven that fructose is not a problem. Yes, it makes us hungry. Every time you have a little bit of honey, and they say honey is glucose, it cannot be glucose, because nature is designed not to have forbidden food available to humans or animals. And since honey is available for absorption, it is fructose. And also, honey is processed nectar. Nectar is from fruits. It's a fructose. It's not a glucose. And I don't care what you tell me, chemically, biochemically, it's baloney. I don't believe in biochemistry because I don't believe in atoms. Okay? These are all ways how to confuse our mind and take us in a wrong way of thinking. And unfortunately, all these discussions about medical science, about how the body works and how we have to calibrate it, it's all bogus because it's based on incorrect science. We have to forget about the science we are being told, and we should observe and think, dissect what we see, and not to base our knowledge on accumulated data and then trying to make some sense of it. Fat people, okay, they have increased uric acid and they have diabetes very often, more than any other type of human. And they have osteoporosis. Okay, since in osteoporosis and in diabetes and in fatty people, we always see increased uric acid. Uric acid is to blame. Not true. Statistics fail all the time. You cannot base science on statistics. You have to understand how things work. And to me, it's very obvious. Okay? So, there could be something in the motion that increased level of uric acid will increase our hunger because they will trigger diuretic effect. So actually body needs more water, but it can easily get confused and ego can misinterpret it. Instead of thirst, blame it on hunger and start eating more instead of drinking. And very often when we drink, we are, let's say, hungry, we drink and all of a sudden we are not hungry anymore. We did not get calories by drinking water. We basically suppressed the signal. And the signal was wrongly interpreted. We thought we were hungry, but there was no food available. So you drink some water and all of a sudden hunger goes away. So if you want to know when you are hungry, if it is hunger or you are actually, your body is asking for water, instead of grabbing the snack, grab a glass of water. But remember, body is not going to hold the water, will not have benefit of it because it will dilute the electrolytes in the blood. And in this way, it is going to interfere with electroconductivity of your plasma. So to drink water correctly, you have to put a little bit of salt in your mouth or put some salt in the water, bless it and drink it. And this way, water will stay in the body. It is not going to be eliminated. And body will use it for what it immediately needs it for. So, this stupid idea that uric acid is to blame and uric acid is programming our cells to produce and store more fat. If you have any mechanism to explain it, how it works, I would gladly hear it. But there is no such a mechanism. It is simple. When you have natural sugar is basically fructose. That's the only sugar available to us that can actually be absorbed. But your cells will not react to fructose. You will not even produce insulin because the cells cannot use fructose. So all the fructose will have to be then processed by the liver into fat and uric acid. And then you eliminate uric acid. But you need to have sufficient levels of plasma. Since we are all dehydrated, because we are following the science and we are not eating enough salt and not drinking enough water, our plasma levels are low. Our blood is thick. It's thick because plasma levels are low. And of course, now you don't have water to flush in the uric acid, so uric acid accumulates. And I have proven this. I was given a patient of one of the doctors in Margarita Island when I was explaining to him how easy it is to control the level of uric acid. Just hydrate the body. And of course, he could not believe it. And he is actually in Venezuela known diabetologist, expert on diabetes. No? But at the same time, because people with diabetes have problem with uric acid and symptoms that go with it, so he has also patients with high uric acid in the blood. So he gave me one of these patients with very high uric acid. And I told him, within a month, we can have the uric acid normal. And he said, well, I want to see this. And he rescheduled the patient to see it in a month. The patient agreed to follow my instructions. So in a month, the patient returned and uric acid was fine. Why? Because the lady followed the self-healers protocol. Stop eating carbohydrates and drink a lot of plasma to flush the uric acid out. Bingo! Within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, done. Well, needless to say that initially the doctor was excited and, oh, look, he actually had a whole hospital. So he said, well, this wing on the side here we are going to take only for problem with rheumatism and uric acid, and if you can help me, and we're gonna heal the people, treat the people, not heal. And I said, of course, just call me, let me know. Well, he never called because after he had time to sleep on it, if in 1 month he can resolve this problem, so in a few months he is going to treat all his patients, and then what will he do when they are all okay? So of course never called me back and never wanted to do this. But I heard later through other friends that he and his wife are doing the protocol, and you know, he healed, his wife healed, blood pressure was problem, circulation was problem, and obesity was problem, and this was all taken care of for themselves, but not for their patients. And this is not the only case. There are several cases like this, and probably much more. There are very few doctors who actually are going to follow this new science because it's not profitable. It goes against the grain of the indoctrinated society, and it would make them poor. Because you cannot work using a truth. It is not allowed. I cannot work as a doctor. I cannot even work as a healer. Luckily here in jungle, it's tolerable because there are a lot of shamans, so it goes under the radar. And lucky for donations, this is what I live from. Because here people have no money. So, yeah, it's not easy to live promoting truth. but it is rewarding. So, unfortunately, many people do not share their successes, and I'm often being asked by new clients, well, please can you put me in contact with someone who have healed from breast cancer, or who has colon cancer, or who had healed from emotional problems, or who have healed from this or that. So many people wrote me letters, but none of them, or very few, actually made a comment, placed a comment underneath my articles or underneath my videos about their success in healing. Even if I tell them, please can you write it as a comment so others can benefit from it who have a doubt, very seldom it's being done. I don't know why, because I see under others people work, even though it's marginal and there is tremendous amount of success stories, I don't have such a response of my clients. I don't know reason why, but maybe this will change. Anyway, so thinking that by putting some kind of a suppression on production of uric acid, we are going to solve obesity and solve a variety of our health issue. Well, the only suppression is stopping to eat glucose, carbohydrates. Now, why carbohydrate? Because no matter what amount of fructose you are eating, since the body cannot use it for nourishment, it basically does not react to it. So you are not going to increase absorption. Body is not going to make more GLUT to bring more fructose in, because the amount of fructose that comes in depends on the level of GLUT that we produce. And the level of GLUT is usually very low because body produces GLUT so it is available when the cell needs a sugar molecule. It is going to bring it in through transporting mechanism of GLUT protein and use it in usually manufacturing of proteins. But if suddenly level of sugar increases, but not any kind of a sugar, it's the glucose, then body, since it has in muscles and brain and liver, it has glycogen for purposes of stress. Well, it does not care. It's a robot. It doesn't care from where the sugar came, because normally it comes from liver as response to a stress. But when we eat, it comes through diet. But body will react exactly the same way. Level of glucose comes up, pow! It releases insulin, otherwise cells will not accept it, to pack it into the cells, and then it serves as a booster fuel. And if this happens more often, then normally, like with all other aspects of life, when something that body can use becomes readily available and in higher levels, then body will create more of the enzyme or transporting mechanism or whatever it needs to handle it. So when we are talking about glucose and daily incoming glucose in higher levels, the body is going to start producing more GLUT. As it produces more GLUT, it is going to start absorbing more, not only glucose but fructose as well. So as a glucoholics, because we are now shifting our whole metabolism towards glucose, our absorption for any kind of a sugar becomes very high. And the higher is the absorption, the more sugar we can absorb from a diet. So the sugar jumps every time we eat carbohydrate or fruit or processed carbohydrate, which I call dietary carbohydrates, when they are stripped of cellulose. Starches are the worst. And basically, we go into a vicious cycle of high absorption, more production of fat, more production of uric acid, lesser engagement of mitochondria, because you need less mitochondria the more sugar you bring in, because it's explosive reaction, so you charge cells much faster, but you are losing ability to produce energy from your fat. So you are storing something you cannot use, and you start getting fat. Very simple. And uric acid is just byproduct of the whole system, which can easily be controlled through hydration. Body will eliminate it, as it will any surplus, but it needs water. If you are low on plasma, you are low on water, it's not going to happen. And problems occur. So this is a very simple, explainable process. And we don't need any statistics, because we know exactly what is happening and why. And this is science. Thank you for listening. Till next time, love you all. Namaste.